Hey, thanks for checking out this channel and these videos. This is the beginning of a playlist that I'm going to put together that's basically just repurposing a longer session that I did with some students. I'm breaking it up into smaller clips, so hopefully it's a little more bite-sized for you to consume and learn and grow in your convenience and in your time. If you would like to see the full video, I'll put a link in the description below so you can see that on our student ministry channel. But basically, this all came from a 2-hour long session that we did during the COVID season online, just answering questions about how to grow in relationship with God, how to know Him more intimately, how to kindle a fire of faith, how to grow with God on a personal level. And so I broke it down. This first video is really, I just wanted to make the case that God isn't someone who can't be known or can't be interacted with, but in fact, He makes Himself known, and His desire is to be known by us, which is great news, because if you're on a journey to know God better, you want to know that He desires to make Himself known to you. Then I'm going to dive into a little bit about how we spend our time, and really that a lot of the trouble we experience in our faith comes from the fact that we don't oftentimes prioritize time to what we say matters most to us. So anytime you want to get to know someone, you need to spend time with them, but I'll let me explain that in the video that you're about to watch. But just keep that in mind, man. The best way to know God is to spend time with God. Yes, He can be known. And so the video is a little lower quality than I want it to be. It was recorded on my laptop, and it's a little rushed. I talk pretty quick, so try and keep up. Maybe you could slow it down too, but I actually did one whole take, a whole 2-hour video, and then found out that the stream wasn't quite working, so I was doing it again, and I didn't want to go too late into the night. So that's why I kind of fly through, but it's still helpful, it's still beneficial, so check it out.
Developing a relationship with Jesus, so crucial, so important. Everything flows from personal relationship with Jesus. And this isn't just a passive thing. Growing in relationship with Jesus isn't something that happens accidentally. It actually requires some intentionality. And growing in relationship with Jesus is super, super important. Famously, Jesus in John 15 declares that apart from Him, we can do nothing. Absolutely nothing. He says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Just like a branch cannot bear fruit apart from the vine, so you cannot bear fruit apart from me. What he's saying is we can give all of our lives and ourselves to the pursuit of really anything and everything. And at the end of the day, it leads to a life that is amounted to nothing. And like he even adds in John 15 that when we do this, when we live life apart from Him, we're like chaff from wheat. So they would traditionally filter out the wheat or the grain from the chaff or the stem and the leaves. And what they do is they would save the grain and they would throw the chaff into the fire. Jesus says that apart from me, you are like chaff that will be thrown into the fire of eternity. We should see eternal separation from Him. This should show us how important it is to have a personal relationship with Him. And I love that you guys are asking this question. How do I not just believe in God, but actually grow in a personal relationship? And Christianity, one of the things I love about our faith is that it is so much more than like any other world religion. This isn't just religion or average everyday spirituality in the sense that it's just about the endless pursuit of God. This isn't just what our world traditionally says, trying to find Him, seeking after God, trying to understand the truth, pondering and philosophizing about the understanding of the incomprehensible. No, this isn't modern spirituality that says, hey, what is truth? Who knows truth? Who can truly understand truth? It is prideful to even think that you can know what is true. We're all on a spiritual journey. We're all along the road. What you believe and what I believe comes together, and somewhere in the middle we find what truly is that. It's not that. It's not about the endless pursuit of a God that cannot be perceived. This is about a God who has revealed Himself to us and through Jesus has made it entirely possible to know him. We can know God on a personal and an intimate level because he has revealed himself perfectly through the person of Jesus. What is amazing about God is he doesn't disguise himself from his people. He doesn't hide himself. He doesn't hide in a cloud or in a shadow so that people vaguely see or understand what is true. Instead, he makes himself entirely available to those who want to be with him. He says, ask, seek, knock, and the doors will be open to you. And God is infinite relationship, infinite intimacy. God is infinite wisdom, infinite in love, infinite in power. He is infinite in his transformative, life-giving, relational love towards humanity. God is so vast and so beyond our ability to comprehend that the Apostle Paul refers to his mission to spread the gospel around the world as, I love this from Paul. He says, preaching the unsearchable riches of Christ. The unsearchable riches of Christ. If Christ were to be gold, treasure strewn across the land, it would be infinite, unsearchable, so beyond our ability to count or comprehend or truly know that if we spent all of the rest of eternity in the pursuit of intimately understanding and knowing God, we would be spending the rest of eternity trying to grasp him. That is how vast he is. That is how much personality and intimacy is available in him. And in understanding this, what that means is that to whatever degree we don't know God, it's not because he's hidden himself from us. It's because we have not disciplined ourselves in the lifelong pursuit of being with him. Knowing God isn't a challenge because he is not available. It's a challenge because we have to prioritize actually being with him. Experiencing God for who he is requires intentionality. And I want you to think about this. Think about your own relationships. Right now, I have friends that I really want to get to know better. Some people that I'm newer to knowing. I've just started meeting we've just started to open up our lives to each other on a deeper level. And I want to know them. I want to know their hopes. I want to know their dreams. I want to understand their passions and their interests, the things that bring them joy and give them life. I want to understand the things that make my friends smile and make them laugh for a number of reasons. One is I love knowing about people, and I love what comes from knowing people intimately and being both involved in their lives and them letting me into their life. But I also love it because by knowing someone well, I can do things that bring them joy. When I know what makes people smile or makes them laugh, I can bring a smile or a laugh. I almost said a laugh to their face, but a smile to their face and a laugh to their heart. So I want to know them better, right? So what do I do? Well, to know my friends better, I prioritize time with them. I actually go out of my way to be around them, to be near them, to do life with them on a regular basis. In order to know someone on a deeper level, in order to know a person, we have to spend personal time together. To know someone personally, we have to spend personal time together. Well, God is infinitely personal, and he's infinitely available. And so relationship with him has the potential to be more fulfilling than any earthly relationship that is available to us. Why? Because human relationship is just a mirror of the relationship that is available between humanity and God, our creator, the relationship that's available within God himself through the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, a Trinitarian, life-giving, eternal, covenantal relationship of love that rules over all of creation. God exists in intimate, life-giving relationship, and he creates us to have infinite, life-giving relationship with him. And so that's the purpose of this video. The purpose of the video is to answer your questions, to help you in this pursuit of growing in relationship with God more, to help you with the how-tos of growing in relationship with God. And so through this video, I can show you some of the how right? I can give you tools that will help you grow in your relationship with God, but they are only going to be valuable to the degree that you use them. So I could give you a hammer and nail and tell you to go start building something. Hopefully, I give you more than one nail. One nail is not going to allow you to build too much. Hopefully, I give you a hammer and multiple nails and maybe some other materials as well. So if I give you these materials, you have the ability to build something amazing. But if you were to take the hammer and the nails in the plural and the wood and materials that I give you, and you simply put them down, set them aside, and didn't do anything with them, they would be of no value to you. Sure, you would have them, sure that you would understand them, but they wouldn't actually transform you or the world around you. Well, the same thing goes with what we're about to talk about here. It's like theology. Theology should not just become things that affect our mind, fill our heads with knowledge. It should be something that that affects our head and our knowledge, transforms our heart and the way we believe, and then changes the way that we live and what we do with the hands that God has given us. So I hope that you're going to take some notes. I hope that you're going to ask some questions along the way. And we will go along this journey. So throughout the video, if you're watching live, feel free to type something in and we will get to it. We will address it. We will expand on it. So again, we'll do this in sections. I'll kind of address some things on the way back around, and hopefully by the end you have a robust understanding of what will help you grow in your relationship with God. Cool? Okay. Before we dive into that, question that came in was simply, if someone recommits their life to Jesus, Lila, you asked this, should they get baptized again? Now, that's a great question. Some people, I don't think there's anything against it, but I don't think there's a need to do so. Baptism is an expression of saying, hey, what has happened internally, this transformation of my life and my heart and my soul, this regeneration to new life, what has happened on the inside of me, I want to demonstrate on the outside. I want to proclaim and show other people. It's an act of obedience to God. And so we do that. If you've given your life to Jesus, I believe everyone who gives their life to Jesus for the first time should walk through the act of obedience in baptism. Jesus himself modeled baptism for us, so with that, recognize that it was an important part of the journey. It's very symbolic. It's an altar moment that you look back on that changes your life forever. You don't need to do it again. Some would say you absolutely should not. My understanding and my thinking, I don't think it's a sin if you do it again. I don't think you need to. If it would be truly important for you and symbolic for you, I would say talk to a pastor and see if they'd be willing to do that. I think that's a great move, but I don't think you need to, because what would tend to happen is you give your life to Jesus, you go through some season of struggle, you feel like you're not near to him again, and you recommit your life, and then you feel like you need to get baptized again. And if you go through another season of struggle or distance from God where you just don't feel as close to him, you might get caught in this trap of feeling like you need to continuously get baptized in order to get right with him. Baptism does not make you right with Jesus. Confession and belief in him is what does that. And so you don't need to do that in order to somehow cleanse your life or be made new or to have a fresh start. You have a fresh start the moment you give your life to Jesus, and nothing can change that. So as we dive into our relationship with Jesus, I want to look at the first roadblock to relationship. The first major roadblock that I see in regards to relationship with Jesus is time. Okay, time. I think you could spell relationship and intimacy with 4 letters: T-I-M-E. The alternate spelling there is really time. For the rest of this conversation, I want to also recalibrate the way we think about that. Think about God. I want you to not think about God. I don't want to do a disservice here. I don't want you to think about God as some ethereal, beyond comprehension, infinite being, though he absolutely is that. He is wholly beyond measure and unlike anything in this entire universe. Yes, but he is personal. And so I want you to think about your interactions with God like your interaction with a person. All right? Understanding God as a person who can truly known and wants to be known by you will absolutely radically change the way that you pursue a relationship with him. You can't have a relationship with this right here. It's a piece of plastic that holds memory cards. No, relationship happens between people. It's an exchange of intimacy and our hearts and our lives and our interests and our worries and our fears and what we care about, right? That's what builds relational intimacy. And the same thing happens in a relationship with God. So like any quality friendship takes a lot of time. The most significant relationships I have in my life are with people that I've known for a long time. And maybe you'd say that's not true necessarily for you, but the longer that you know someone and are also authentic with them, the more you will grow in authenticity, relationship, and intimacy with them. And so when it comes to a relationship with God, man, if we simply leveraged our time more wisely to invest in what matters most, that alone would change everything in our life. All right. I want to paint a picture for you real quick. Relationship with God is kind of like, well, if someone came up to your house, let's say Jesus comes up to your home and knocks on your door, you're in your bedroom. You have two responses. You can either ignore the knock at the door, put your headphones in, turn the music up, and try to create some distraction that drowns out what is happening. Or you can go to the door, you can answer it, right? And you can have a conversation right there. A lot of our relationship with God is like this. People who have no relationship with God, it's like they've never answered the door. Jesus is at the door of everyone's life, knocking and desiring to come in, desiring to spend time with us and to be brought into the private places of our lives. He wants to spend that time with us. And people who have no relationship with God have not allowed him in. They've metaphorically turned up the noise, allowed the distractions and the sounds and the chaos of this world to keep them from answering that call. But for some of us, we've answered the call. Maybe you prayed a salvation prayer. You've asked God to be the Lord of your life. You've metaphorically opened the door and allowed Jesus into your home. I would say that is the beginning of relationship with God. I would equate that to a belief in God. You acknowledge him and you allow him to come in. But then let's say Jesus comes in to your home and he walks into your living room and he sits down on the couch and he grabs a cup of coffee and he looks to you and he gets ready to have a conversation with you. And he's ready to talk to you. And what you do in that moment is on your phone, you're looking at your screen, you walk past Jesus, you walk through your living room, you walk to your bedroom, and you shut the door. Well, if you shut the door, Jesus might be in your home, but he's not really a part of your life. If someone were to ask you, hey, do you know Jesus? You might say, yeah, of course I know him. Jesus is in the living room right now. But are you actually finding any joy in him? Are you growing in relationship with him? Are you growing in relational intimacy? See, Jesus doesn't just want to be in your house. He doesn't want to just be let in. He wants to do life with you. And as Jesus says in John 15, abide in me and I in you. For apart from me, you can do nothing. We need to be in relational intimacy. Don't just receive Jesus into your life and then not do life with him. Don't spend time in separate rooms. No, the goal and the desire of our hearts is that he would be part of every single aspect of our life, that we would sit on that couch metaphorically with him and share relational intimacy. And we have to do that through time. I want to paint this picture for you too. There's a couple different things that affect our lives, who we are and who we become. One is what we watch. What we watch affects what we think about. Now, I've talked to a lot of people who have struggled with nightmares and negative thinking. And whenever I have pastoral counseling conversations with them, a lot of times we can walk backwards through their day and almost always pinpoint it back to what they watched during the day or what they were consuming right before bed. What we watch affects our mind. It affects what we think about. It affects who we are and what we are becoming. Another thing that really affects who we are and what we're becoming is who we hang out with. You may have heard that you're the average of the 5 friends that you spend the most time with. And the more I live my life, the more I find that to be true. The people that I spend the most time with affect who I am and who I'm becoming. And that is true for all of us. What you watch and what you consume, what goes into your mind, and who you spend time with, which is also what is going into your mind, really affects who you're becoming. And I want to bring this back to this idea of what we consume and what fills our mind throughout the day and throughout the year. So I'm going to ask you a little trivia question right here. And when you think about this, I want you to throw out a guess. If you were to guess for the typical 15 through 23-year-old, how much screen time, how much screen media someone consumes throughout a year, how many hours would you guess? Typical 15 through 23-year-old, how many hours over the course of a year? So go ahead and throw out a number. Go ahead and guesstimate. I'll give you a moment. How many hours throughout a year? There was some research that was done, but for 15 through 23-year-olds, and what they were studying was really how much time young adults and teenagers spent both engaged in digital media versus how much time they spent engaging in spiritual content or taking in spiritual content. Travis, you are correct when you say a lot. That's a big number. I don't know exactly what that means, but we could say a lot. Here's what the research showed us. The typical 15 through 23-year-old, this is Christians and non-Christians, just your average person, spent an average of 2,767 hours a year consuming digital media. 2,767 hours. Now, what about taking in spiritual content? What would you guess? What would you assume? How, with the average person, that age bracket, how much spiritual content are they engaging in throughout the course of a year? Well, the research showed that on average, it is 153 hours a year. 2,767 engaging in digital media, 153 hours engaging in spiritual content. And that doesn't mean just Christian content, that's anything spiritual. Here's the difference. That is 3.8 months on screens. In a year, the average young adult and teenager spends 3.8 months, almost 4 months, consuming digital media, while they spend less than 1 week total throughout a year engaging in any sort of spiritual content. Now, that's the average, but when they studied just Christian teenagers, it was not much higher. And if you think about it, if you were to attend church, if you were to attend church about a third of the weeks of the year, you would be spending about 17 hours in church. If you were in church for half of the year, if you 52 Sundays a year, and you were to spend about 25 of them, that would be 25 hours in church. That's just over a day's worth of time. Just a day's worth of time. And that's assuming my math's right, because I'm tired right now. But I think my math was right. I think that was accurate. And I don't know if that surprises you, but I think it should. See, if you were to think about this. Think about it as friendships. Think about this as relationships. Your relationship with digital media is so much stronger. I mean, you spend 3.8 months with that friend on average in less than a week. If you were to spend 3.8 or 4 months with one specific friend, throughout the course of a year, how much closer would you be? How much more would you know each other? How much more vulnerable and authentic might you be? When things got hard and challenging and difficult in life, who are you going to run to? Who are you going to search after? Who are you going to pour out your heart to? It's going to be that friend. But what about someone that you spent less than a week with throughout the entire year? Are you going to feel close to them? Are you going to trust them? Would you be willing to share the most intimate aspects of your life with them? When things get hard, are they going to be the one that you run to for hope, for encouragement, for life and strength? When we think about these things in terms of relationship, doesn't it change everything? I mean, and if Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and IGTV were people, they would be self-centered, egocentric individuals who care nothing about you, but only about how much time you spent watching them. They don't give you anything. They don't care about you. They're not on your team. They're not on your side. Everything they do is, it's really to use you. These media outlets want you to spend time on their pages because then other people will spend time on their pages. They don't care about you. But time with Jesus? Well, Jesus leads to opportunities for transformational life experiences, world-changing, eternity-transforming experiences with God. And everything that we talk about moving forward from this point stems and flows from this idea of relationship. That if we would just spend time with God, it would change absolutely everything. For the people who tell me they just don't feel like God is present or he's there or he cares, I can almost always look at how much time they spend with God throughout their daily life. And it looks like that friend that they spend less than a week with at a time. So in order to experience deep relationship with Jesus, that is more than just a theoretical or religious idea, we need to truly want to know him more and actually begin to prioritize personal time with him throughout our days, our weeks, and our lives. And every practice that I mentioned here is a means by which you can prioritize and spend more time with him. So that by the end of a year, maybe you would look back and not just see the hours or the days that you spent with him, but the months and months of intimate, deep, relational time that you spent with God. And I know that this will radically transform your life and your relationship with him.
Well, hopefully that was helpful and beneficial for you, just to remind us that God can be known. He wants to be known, and he wants to spend time with you. Hope it gives you something to think about, to ponder about how we spend our time. So often we don't prioritize time towards the things that ultimately matter most. We let other things distract us and keep us from him. So yeah, hope the video was helpful for you. You know, hit the like button if it was, hit subscribe. We're going to come out with a lot more videos here just to be a resource and a benefit to you. What matters most to me is your spiritual growth as you're on a journey of discovering all that God has for you. And I hope you'll hit subscribe. I hope you'll be a part of the journey as we explore together. What was the most helpful thing for you in this video? Comment below and I'll get back to you. If you have any suggestions for other things you'd like to talk about or learn, go ahead and comment as well. I take all of those into account and I'll put out videos that are helpful for you. So until the next video, man, thanks for watching.